From Australia. What could it be? So let's see what's in the box. So this could be tie rods and spacers, or it could be some actual crazy new angle kit that has not been made. So I don't think tie rods can fit in this small box. Z33 angle kit. We got rubber bushings, probably for some tie rod ends. We got a steering rack spacer with another spacer in there. Ooh. Dang, this looks pretty prototype. Dang, this is crazy. Whoa. This is crazy. This is exactly what I hoped it would have been. I didn't want tie rods. I wanted... Yeah. So it looks like this probably bolts somehow under the knuckle, and so it has a crazy pivoting point now. This should take 2 seconds to install. Holy crap, this is sweet. Damn. So I read online to get a little bit more angle on a 350Z, you get these this style outer tie rod and you get more angle. But I just got hooked up with Gktech budget, so this is now going to be returned. So let's price out this angle kit. You got the tie rod with the spacer, which is like 60 bucks, and then this is 80. So you're like at like 140, give or take, depending on which kit you go with. Like these are the cheapest ones. This outer tie rod, you can get like a nice one like SPL or Voodoo for like 200 something bucks, and it's way less angle, and your Ackerman is all screwed up because the pickup point of the tie rods are just not that great for drifting. This Gktech one that's fixed. You have a good Ackerman and you have way more angle that's way more drivable, and it's like $20 more than this setup. And this is, what is this? Phase 2. This is like a very cheap, like these will probably have play in the joints in like no time at all. Like this is a very cheap outer tie rod to keep it budget. So I'm super happy with the Gktech so far, and I haven't even installed it. Okay, since there's no instruction, I had to visualize how this went. We have to remove the Oem Tie Rod and the whole outer one. That's been replaced with this. Those 2 bolts right there go there, I'm assuming. And this fits better once that tie rod's gone. And then this hole is for that lower ball joint, is what that is. It's weird, there's like 2. There's like 1 here and 1 there. But yeah, that's how it works. This is gonna be a fun install because it's snowing, there's snow, and it's raining. But step 1, let's remove this tie rod, cotter pin. And this is a 19. Looks like there's a washer there. So I'm gonna put this back on. This is now garbage. And now I'm gonna hammer it, but protect the threads in case I have to use it again. Just like that. Now you get your biggest hammer you can find. That's probably from the 80s. Then you hammer. Just like that. Since we broke that nut loose, this guy will spin right off. Normally a bump stop bracket right here that I took off for my cheap angle kit. It's just tie rod spacers. But I'm very grateful that I put the bolts back where they go. And those are 14 mils, okay. those guys out. Like that. They sent me this, which is a tie rod spacer kit. This goes into the steering rack, and then your tie rod goes into here. And then this one goes on the opposite side on your tie rod, which I already have these installed. I may have a clip. I can kind of show you what it looks like here. If I have it, if I don't, look it up. We have an old tie rod right here. This is how this goes. It slips on there, and now you can install it like that. And then this one will go on my driver's side. I'm not sure if it's interchangeable, but I'm putting mine on the driver's side. And so I'm gonna take this boot off, which is just a metal clamp here, and then stock is metal ties. I cut that off and just put a zip tie, so all I have to do is cut that zip tie and this boot comes off. And remove this nut first. Pop the tie rod off, Loctite this, screw it in, and then put the tie rod back in onto this and Loctite both ends. So this will actually be a pretty easy install, I think. Inner tie rod out. This is the best Walmart purchase I've ever bought. You slip it on there, and normally they're a little loose and they like to slip. You just vice grip it, and now it won't slip off. But I already broke it loose beforehand. And just spin it off. Got my tie rod off. And that's probably like Loctited on. But it has to get over all this dried Loctite. But let's get that off. Aftermarket tie rods have more thread depth to accept these spacers, and I was worried that it wouldn't fit into this, so I test fitted it, and it's still hand tight, but it does work. So this is gonna go in to there. Okay, and now let's tighten it. I have a fancy tie rod wrench thingy, but you could use that. But I prefer to torque my stuff, so let's see if I can do this one-handed. There you go. Your OG original tie rod back in with your into your spacer. Now I just torque this to the same exact spec as that because it's still a tie rod. And now let's put the boot back on. It's here, but you want to push it all the way back because you just extended this. Like right in here is where that tie rod spacer is. So I just put the metal clip back on and my zip tie. You could be more professional and put like a metal tie there, but mine is just a zip tie. Next, you remove the cotter pin from right here. It's right under this. Right there, pull it out. Either make sure you don't mess it up or replace it with the new one. Very important. And can the gun get it? Nope. Before we put this on, let's take it apart and put our boot on. It's pretty hard to put that on there, but it didn't rip. And make sure to Loctite, or not Loctite, anti-seize this. Because when you come back to it, it'll be a lot easier to deal with. So if you actually do maintenance on your Z, your rear diff is a 10 mil Allen, and that is a 10 mil Allen. So when you see an Allen key that big, you're like, oh shoot, there's no way I have that. But if you drain and fill your rear diff, you do. So there you put that there, and it's a nylon nut in the bottom, tighten it, and you're good. The threads are huge, so you can probably get it pretty tight. What it looks like, you actually don't need it too tight. I mean, that's a nylon, and you don't want it super mega tight because this is moves, but that's what that joint's for. And make sure you tighten this before you put it on because, well, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not sure if you can get that Allen key once this is on there. But look at that, it's ready to go on. What I did is I threaded this portion all the way in and then this portion, you have the nut right here, all the way in. And then install it, and then make your adjustments. That way you know that it's most engaged on each way. Like you don't have like 3 threads catching here and like 10 over here. Like it's perfectly even. So like once this is on, then make your adjustments. So that's tight, kind of. It's not like really tight. It looks like I'm kind of hitting there. So I'm gonna take a grinder and take just a little bit off, just like that little bit, so it's not gonna affect anything. But see how these bolts have an angle down to them? That's where the holes are. So these will not go in how it is right now. So I'm gonna try to grind it and see if it fits better. Grinded just a little, that little corner off, and these guys went right in. What's cool about this is it drops the tie rod, so now the bump steer is more straight. Like since the car's lowered, the tie rods aren't facing up anymore. They're probably straight once it's on the ground. Like it's pretty straight right now of how you look at it. And the reason why this has better Ackerman than the stock, it totally changes the pickup point. Like before, that tie rod has to come all the way up to up here. Like it literally dropped the tie rod an inch. So now at full lock, there's a more desirable Ackerman. It's not, the wheels aren't totally different angles, so you're not scrubbing front speed as much. It's faster in drift, and you're not gonna wear your front tires as much, and it'll just be more pleasant to drive. I don't know if I want to say complaint. My first thing I noticed that's maybe an issue, that nut we just installed back, right there, you can see it only half the hole showing. It's because we added this steel bracket where it used to be, where it was just enough room for a cotter pin, and now maybe we could like clip 1/2 off and get it through that hole, which is probably what I'll try. Or you can get a castle nut, or you can get a nylon nut. Like that's what I think you should do, because that, you're gonna have to like check that every event, and you should check this one every event. But I'm gonna see if I can split this in half and try to fish that through there. And I'm sure that was unfocused the whole time. My solution for that cotter pin was this extra wire. It was just skinny enough to go through. Put it on, twisted it, cut it off. This will probably rust out in like a year, but it'll keep the nut from falling off and maybe keep the, so I'd rather replace this every like year or whatever than have something fall off the car. So that's sweet. I think this side's done. And since we maxed out, or we pushed that tie rod in as much, look how off the toe is. So straighten the toe out and then go to the other side. Make sure the nuts aren't jammed, and you can just adjust it by spinning with your fingers. And once you get to the desirable place of just eyeballing it, toe plating it, or actually paying someone to do the alignment, which I recommend every time you adjust any suspension work, you just jam nut both ends. So the only 2 cons that I think I'm gonna have for this kit, and I will include in this video if I don't think of any more, because this is an honest review. I have to grind that down, which is no big deal whatsoever. It's a drift car. We're used to grinding things down. Like for this, the original kit, you grind this down because it touches. So you grind that down, and this is way less grinding. So we got that, and then the other complaint I would have, which there's an easy solution. So like my 2 complaints are like very minor. The positives outweigh it. It's gonna be a very cheap kit. I don't know if they finalized on a price yet. It fixes Ackerman, fixes bump steer, and you have way more angle. And the only thing that comes close to this setup is thousands of dollars. Wisefab, PBM, and the Mantis kit. Which if you're into tripping on snow. If you're into a budget car, there's no better kit than this. This is so cheap. I am so stoked. So I did this side really fast, and now we're doing the most important part about this whole kit. So we installed that threaded tie rod spacer on one side. So now the rack isn't centered. So now you disconnect, which I have done, and then I'm gonna count that thing, how many times it spins. I'm gonna divide it by 2 and then put that back on. And when you take this off, you wanna make sure your wheel does not spin. If it spins, your blinkers won't automatically turn off, and then you can just your horn won't work. You can tear that clock spring in there, which wouldn't be good if you daily your car and etc. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's try to center this. So there's no clearance issues. I'm not seeing anything that touches, but look at the banjo bolt on the brake caliper. It's almost touching the strut. There is one thing that is absolutely wild. Okay, these are 17s on the front. See that? That doesn't appear to be touching. It does, that noise is the rusty rotors. That's not touching the wheel. So if you had wheel weights right there, which I don't, those would be hitting. So I'd probably recommend 18s with this setup. So I'm trying to show the old tie rod pickup point I've grinded down from my last setup, but that is what maxes this kit out. That touches the lower control arm. So there's kind of a fine line, because if you grind this too much, watch. Damn, mad angle. It's pretty close, but there's a finger width through my thumb and the tie rod. So you can grind that down until it almost touches. So there's more angle left in this kit, which is crazy. But this is pretty safe. I wouldn't want to go any further. You can see how that clears. But this is wild. The ground, it didn't add any more poke, which it shouldn't. There's no reason why it should. But let's test this out. Holy crap. I need to hold, it won't hold, but wow. And the best part, the Ackerman, I wish I could get an angle from looking up, but it looks crazy. Super easy install. I think anyone can do it. They don't need to charge anybody. I'm super excited about the Ackerman and the angle and the bump steer. This kit fixes a lot of issues 350Zs have, and it's so cheap. It might be $180 or something, like $200. I don't know what their price is gonna be, but I'm so stoked on it. Wild angle. Damn. I just drove 5 feet and packed the underneath my car with snow, which is funny. Oh, my first track day, what I didn't like about it is you would drift and it would spin so easy, you couldn't be aggressive. So you would just let the car transition itself, and you couldn't do any inputs, because if you did any inputs and try to do a snappy or quick transition, it's gonna spin. So that's why I like this, because I can drive aggressively again, like a 240. Pretty nuts angle. Now there's absolutely no excuse. 350Zs are the best drift cars. They were held back by angle, and you can buy angle for under $200, like legit angle. Oh, it's freaking crazy. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Stay tuned for the test day to see actually how this thing drifts.